things that we recently added to our services is that God? No, okay, all right. One of the things we recently added to our services is a once a month sort of testimonial from one of our members to talk about how Unity of Olympia has impacted them. And so this month we hear from our friend Joan Moyneur, who's on her way up right now, soon as she can stand up. Okay.
Here we go. Good morning.
Good morning.
I can't see you from
Hold
here.
on, did I turn this on?
You have your lights on.
There.
How about that? There we are. Good morning. When I read the suggested outline for my talk, I realized that mine was not the typical spiritual experience. I did not attend a church that taught me I was bad and a sinner. Instead, when I was 7, my mother joined a New Thought church, not Unity, and enrolled me in Sunday school, where I learned there's not a spot where God is not, that I was a beloved child of a loving Father, Mother God. I also learned about the efficacy of prayer, and I was always divinely protected. One Saturday when I was 16, I was at the wheel of a convertible along with 3 girlfriends. It was a sunny day in March, so of course the top of the convertible was down as we drove from Detroit, Michigan to Ann Arbor, Michigan for the day. On our way home, we lost our way, and at a rural intersection, we were involved in a horrific crash. I still remember the car spinning around, and as it came to a stop, I felt myself being lifted out of the car and gently sat on the ground next to a little stream. As I stood up, I noticed the car was in the only area without ditches, a huge oak tree, or the said stream. My friends, of course, were unhurt, but worried as the steering wheel had gone through the front seat and I was not in the car.
Listen to that.
When they saw me, we were all relieved that no one had a scratch or a bruise. And the man in the other car also was unhurt, but he was arrested for driving without a license and borrowing his brother's car without permission.
Whoops.
That evening, I attended a dance. The resilience of youth. As a young adult, I seldom attended church, but did rely upon prayer and the basic principles I learned as a child. I knew they worked because I had proof time and time again. Years later, my daughter Kim became interested in Unity through a mutual friend. At that time, she was living in Hawaii, and when I visited her, the Daily Word was in her home, and upon reading it, it felt so much of it applied to me. In 1991, she was married at the Unity Church in Honolulu, and it was then that my husband Roland and I felt we needed to look further into the Unity movement. Upon our return home, we decided to check out Unity of Olympia. Walked in the door and immediately felt we had come home. We soon became members, took many classes, volunteered as ushers, and worked as helpers caring for the rhododendrons. Roland also served on the board. In 2007, when Roland retired, we decided that Arizona was the place to be, so we sold our home and moved to a retirement community near Phoenix. We soon realized that living there full-time was far different from snowbirding, so we spent 3 years trying to sell our home with no result. At that time, it was part of the big real estate the market had tanked. My faith was once again tested when in 2013, Roland suffered a multitude of health challenges and wound up in the ICU in a hospital 30 miles from our home. This was in early December. By Christmas Eve day, he was in high spirits and looking forward to us celebrating in his room the next day. At 3:30 a.m. Christmas morning, he suddenly made his transition, and I just missed being there to say goodbye. Suddenly, my life was turned upside down. We had been married 56 years, and now I was truly alone. Family were in Washington, British Columbia, and California, and I had no family there in Arizona. I made the necessary plans with a funeral home, had neighbors pick me up from the hospital at 6 a.m. as the hospital insisted I not drive the 30 miles by myself. Another neighbor insisted on driving me to the airport that day to pick up my daughter, who had abandoned her Christmas plans and flown down from Olympia to be with me for a few days. I later realized that all this activity was divinely inspired. In March of 2015, my daughter called to say that she had been diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer and was no longer able to help my son, who was now on disability. I knew my place was with my family, and this time my house in Arizona would sell. Once again, I put it on the market, knowing that all was in divine order. The house would sell, and I would find the right new home in Washington. The house sold in May. I hired a moving company, packed up everything, again with help from neighbors, loaded the car, and headed back to Washington. The evening I returned, I viewed 3 homes and made an offer on my current home in Lacey, which was immediately accepted. Now I was 12 minutes away from Kim and spent most days with her for the next year, was able to help Mark with appointments in his personal business. Kim made her transition in August 2016. In 3 years, my life had been changed in ways I never imagined. I know without a doubt I couldn't have done it without the firm foundation with which I grew up and was further bolstered when I found unity. I am truly blessed. Thank you.